The airport was paralyzed. Amidst the swirling chaos of a summer travel surge at Toronto Pearson International Airport, a 6-year-old boy had vanished. Beside his weeping parents, he had simply disappeared. In this vast foreign country, could a missing child truly be found? The questioning gazes of international tourists swept across the terminal, a silent chorus of doubt. But just as everyone was about to surrender to the inevitable, Pearson Airport chose a path of absolute opposition. 7 minutes later, an incredible scene unfolded. What exactly did Canada reveal during those 7 minutes of miracle? This is the breathtaking story of that unforgettable day. I will never forget the chilling moments I spent at Toronto Pearson International Airport. It was a sweltering weekend afternoon. The moment I stepped into the International Departures Terminal, a sigh of frustration escaped my lips. Dragging our suitcases through the tidal wave of people felt like a battle. The chorus of languages English, French, Mandarin, Punjabi was just noise, a discordant prelude to our long-haul flight to New York. For our family, Canada was merely a layover. My wife Sarah tilted her head, studying the terminal map with a confused frown. Our 6-year-old son Evan clutched my hand tightly, his eyes wide with anxiety amongst the towering adults. Even finding the way to the duty-free shops felt like navigating a labyrinth. I began to grumble internally. Too many people. The signs are confusing, a mix of English and French I can't immediately decipher. Why did we have to transit through here? A hub in the States would have been familiar, so much easier. I didn't know it then, but this country was about to show me a miracle. As we ascended the escalator to the duty-free zone, I complained aloud to Sarah. This place is just too complicated. The layout makes no sense. Sarah nodded in agreement, and we continued our conversation, colored by our preconceived notions of this place. It was the same in the shops. While browsing perfumes and chocolate, I muttered about the complex price tags showing multiple currencies and the sales staff's polite but, to my impatient ears, slow manner of speaking. It was maddening. Only Evan was different. His eyes lit up in front of a massive interactive digital installation showcasing Canadian wildlife. He was mesmerized by a life-size digital grizzly bear that seemed to follow his movements, its movements graceful and powerful. He was completely captivated. I glanced at my watch and hurried him along. Evan, we only have 50 minutes until boarding. And in that instant, in the single moment I looked away, Evan, who had been trailing the digital bear's path along the screen, vanished into the crowd. At first, I thought he was just a few steps behind me. But as I scanned the area, I couldn't see his bright yellow t-shirt anywhere. My heart began to pound against my ribs. I started shouting his name, Evan! Evan! But my voice was swallowed by the terminal's deafening hum. Sarah's face went pale. Sweat beaded on my forehead. I ran to people nearby, asking if they'd seen him, but most just shook their heads, their faces a canvas of pity or indifference. Desperation began to crash over me. In an airport this enormous, this crowded, how could you ever find one small child? Back in America, there'd be an immediate Amber Alert, announcements blaring from every speaker. But here, this was Canada. We didn't know the protocol, didn't even know who to ask for help. Can somebody please help us find our son? I screamed, my voice cracking. Please help us. But the river of people flowed on, an impassable wall. It seemed no one would stop. A memory from a past trip flashed in my mind, a similar incident at a European airport. It had taken hours of police reports, announcements, and searching before the child was found. We didn't have hours. Our flight was boarding soon, and more importantly, I was terrified for Evan's safety. My wife's voice trembled beside me. Michael, do you remember? Evan was in the emergency room just last month for his asthma. What if he has an attack now? Her words struck me like a physical blow. Evan's breathing became ragged and shallow whenever he was stressed or frightened. Alone and terrified right now, if his asthma flared up, it could be life-threatening. The desperation became a monstrous wave. We felt utterly, terrifyingly alone in this unfamiliar country, helpless against the barriers of a different culture and a system we didn't understand. I yelled again, louder this time. If this was the States, the FBI would be all over this by now. What is this place? Pearson International? Sounds fancy, but you can't even find one missing kid, can you? I swore in anger. The international tourists around us nodded in sympathy. One remarked cynically, Canadian airports. They look nice, but the system's probably too polite to be effective. Another added, that's how it is in some of these places. All surface, no substance. Their words fueled my rage. Were we really not going to get any help? Would we ever see our son again? Sarah began to sob. I've heard stories, kids who get lost in big places like this. They're never seen again. In that moment, a palpable tension filled the terminal, as if our private despair had become a public spectacle. And then, an airport official with a name tag that read David approached us. He spoke in a calm, steady voice. Sir, ma'am, please stay calm. We are initiating a Code Atom protocol immediately. I do for. A what? I asked as he pressed his earpiece. Alpha, Bravo, Charlie teams, stand by. Code Atom is active. I repeat, Code Atom is active. In the blink of an eye, the entire atmosphere of the airport shifted. The chaotic sea of travelers suddenly had a new, invisible current running through it. It was like a peacetime navy, instantly switching to combat readiness. Officials all around us began moving with purpose. A stream of technical jargon flowed from radios. I was stunned. A moment ago, I was cursing this country's system, and now it seemed something utterly different was happening. But I was still skeptical. Could this orderly-sounding system actually work? Time was ticking by, and there was still no sign of Evan. David began firing questions at us. Last seen clothing? Color? Shoe type? Height? Any distinguishing features? We answered frantically. A yellow t-shirt, blue sneakers. He's a little small for his age. Instantly, a command crackled over the radio. Bravo team, review CCTV feeds 12 through 34, synchronized, filter for all children matching the description. I was impressed by their professionalism. This wasn't just a random search. It was a systematic, scientific approach. But my anxiety was mounting. I glanced at my watch. Only 43 minutes until departure. I felt like collapsing. A voice from another passenger behind me muttered, In my country, this would take half a day. The comment made my stomach churn. Could we really find him in time? Sarah's sobs grew louder. What if his asthma kicks in, Michael? What if he ends up in the hospital again? Hearing her, a crushing wave of guilt washed over me. I hadn't been careful enough with my asthmatic son. The image of Evan gasping for air, his small shoulders heaving, the memory of him in an emergency room with an oxygen mask over his face, it all flashed before my eyes. If that was happening to him now, alone, it could be irreversible. I covered my face with my hands, the guilt of a father who failed to protect his child consuming me. David looked at us, his expression firm. Sir, please. We need you to stay focused. This is the most critical time. His calm voice was filled with confidence, but I couldn't relax. Time was slipping away. Then David announced, multilingual support teams and all security personnel are now engaged. The moment I heard that, I was floored. Multilingual teams? How is that possible? Commands continued to pour through the radio. Alpha Team, secure all exits on Level 2, retail sector. Bravo Team, monitor all northbound escalators. Charlie Team, sweep the children's play area. In my ear, I could hear a symphony of languages, English, French, Spanish, Japanese, as if I were at a United Nations summit. The entire airport had transformed into a massive command center. On the giant electronic departure boards, an emergency message flashed in multiple languages. Missing child alert. yellow shirt, blue shoes. If seen, please notify airport staff immediately. I couldn't believe what was happening. Just moments ago, I had no faith in this country's system, and now they were moving with the precision of a military operation. Was this real or just for show? Just then, an Australian tourist nearby raised her hand. I think I saw a boy who looked like that over there. We sprinted in that direction, my heart hammering against my ribs, the sound pounding in my ears. We found him. It has to be Evan. Hope surged through me. But as we got closer, we saw it was another child entirely. Our first hope was shattered. In that second, I felt my knees buckle. The whiplash from hope to despair was too cruel to bear. Sarah collapsed onto a bench, weeping uncontrollably. The crushing weight of reality settled on me again. "What are you people doing?" I shouted, my voice raw with anguish. I slammed my fist on a nearby counter. "Is any of this actually working? Are you even trying?" David bowed his head slightly. "I apologize, sir, but this is the critical phase. Please, trust our system." His cool response made me even angrier, but at the same time, his unshakable professionalism was strangely impressive. He placed a hand on my shoulder. "Sir, the perimeter is tightening with every second." Just then, a report came in from the AI image analysis team. Positive match on clothing pattern, yellow shirt. Subject identified on the southbound escalator 3 minutes ago. A new command was issued instantly. "Delta Team, resweep the lower level near the wildlife exhibit." I prayed silently. "Evan's son, please be okay. Please just be breathing. Daddy's coming. Just hold on." The multilingual announcements grew clearer over the PA system, asking all passengers to pause for a moment and look around them. A security officer handed me a receiver, like a walkie-talkie. "We'll keep you updated in real time," she said. I was amazed at this level of thoughtful care. David's voice came over the radio. "Medical team, have a pediatric nebulizer on standby in case of asthmatic distress." The moment I heard that, a wave of profound gratitude washed over me. They weren't just looking for a child, they were anticipating his specific medical needs. Another radio crackled. "Charlie team, checking child locator wristband registry. Negative. Subject is not wearing a device." I was confused by the term. A child locator wristband? They had a system for that? David replied simply, "Miracles are usually the result of preparation, sir." Those words hit me hard. The numbers on the digital clock ticked relentlessly. 5 minutes, 10 seconds. 5 minutes, 20 seconds. 5 minutes, 30 seconds. Time was running out, but strangely, a sense of expectation began to replace my anxiety. I could feel it, a professional, systematic force closing in. "Michael, I think this is different," Sarah whispered, gripping my hand. "I think they're actually going to find him." Then the radio crackled again. "Confirmed sighting of a similar child near Gate 4. Requesting immediate visual confirmation." We started running again. This time, this has to be him. It has to be our Evan. But when we arrived, it was a second crushing disappointment. Sarah sank to the floor, sobbing. "He's gone. We're never going to find him, are we?" I felt my own heart break. But then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw at a souvenir kiosk selling Canadian animal toys, and just beyond it, a sign for a children's play area. David spoke into his radio instantly. "Delta Team, check the zone near the moose statue kiosk. Rerun CCTV footage." The report from the AI team came back immediately. Image captured. Yellow shirt, blue shoes, child is holding his chest, breathing heavily, suspected asthmatic episode. In that instant, a tremor went through my entire body. It was him. It had to be our Evan. Holding his chest, gasping for air that was the first sign of his asthma attacks. "Please," I begged, my voice desperate. "Please, someone help my son. He could be in real danger." David's voice was confident. Confirmed, sir. Child and Family Support Officer Marie is approaching the location. Please await contact. His voice was no longer that of a searcher, but of a rescuer. I clutched the receiver. Finally, are we going to see our son? Hope warred with the fear of another mistake. Sarah trembled beside me. We both held our breath, listening intently to the radio. The voice of Officer Marie came through, calm and clear. Target acquired, confirming visual ID. I am approaching the subject. On a small security monitor nearby, we saw him. It was our Evan. His small shoulders were heaving as he struggled to breathe. He was sobbing in fear. Officer Marie knelt in front of him, and then something amazing happened. She began to sing a soft, traditional French-Canadian lullaby, Fais Dodo, Cola mon petit frère. Her voice was gentle, her words soothing, spoken in English. We watched as Evan slowly began to calm down. Marie then pulled a small, plush beaver from her pocket and held it out to him. She began to tell him a funny story, using animated gestures to capture his attention. It was an incredibly delicate, professional approach. She wasn't just retrieving a lost child, she was tending to his emotional and physical state. Tears began to stream down my face. I had never imagined such a compassionate response. Evan's small shoulders slowly relaxed. His crying subsided as he became engrossed in Marie's story. The electronic display board showed the elapsed time. 7 minutes, 2 seconds. This entire incredible operation had taken just over 7 minutes. We followed an officer's directions to where Evan was. My heart was about to explode, but this time it was from hope, not despair. When we finally stood before him, Evan was no longer crying. He was clutching the plush beaver tightly, sitting calmly next to Marie. It was an unbelievable sight. "Daddy!" Evan launched himself into my arms. The feeling of his small, warm body was everything. I tried to hold back my tears, but I couldn't, hugging him tightly as I sobbed with relief. I turned to David and bowed my head deeply. "I was so rude to you. I doubted you. I am so sorry." David smiled warmly. "Sir, the only thing that matters today is that your son is safe. No apologies are needed. We understand a parent's heart." End one. Marie checked Evan's breathing. "He's stabilized, but we have a nebulizer here for him, just in case." My voice shook as I spoke. In 20 years of international travel, I have never seen anything like this. It's like Canada is living in the future. David smiled humbly. "We prepare for days like this every day because one single child carries the weight of the entire world." Evan whispered to me, "Daddy, I like Canada, and my beaver is very cute." It seemed my son had already sensed the warmth of this country. The crowd of onlookers who had witnessed our reunion broke into applause. The same tourists who had been muttering cynical remarks now had looks of awe on their faces. News reporters began to gather. I told them that what I had witnessed today was the perfect fusion of a flawless system and a profoundly human heart. "This," I said, "is the true face of an advanced society." Ever calm. Headlines began to flash on the electronic displays. "The world's safest airport. Person 7. Minute miracle to protect one child. A global benchmark in emergency response." I bowed my head to David and Marie again. "What you did today was beyond incredible. It's a model the entire world should learn from." Before boarding our plane, I made a silent vow to tell the world about the amazing thing I had experienced. I would make sure people knew that a country with such a brilliant system and such a big heart existed. This airport, this country, I will never, ever forget these 7 minutes of miracle. Canada was already living in the future. And most importantly, it was a place with a warm human heart. Miracles don't fall from the sky. They are born from preparation, from training, and from the hearts of people who trust and work together. And in those 7 miraculous minutes at Toronto Pearson Airport, at the center of the world was the warm heart of Canada, a country that valued the smallest life as if it were everything. As we walked to our gate, the atmosphere around me had completely changed. The cacophony of the terminal, which had been so grating before, now sounded like a vibrant, living symphony. The bright lights of the shops, which had irritated me, now seemed warm and inviting. My view of the people had changed. I saw the friendly smiles of the staff, the warm goodbyes of Canadian families. Evan held Sarah's hand, clutching his new beaver tightly in his other arm. He looked around with curious eyes, all fear gone from his face. The small smile on his lips was the best proof that this country had given him a sense of safety and a beautiful memory. "I was so wrong, Sarah," I said to my wife. "I judged this entire country on its surface, on my own unfamiliarity." Sarah nodded. "Me too. There's so much more to this place than we ever could have imagined." Meanwhile, a video of the event, filmed by another tourist, had gone viral online. Number YYZ Miracle and Number Canada Kind were trending worldwide. Comments poured in from every corner of the globe. "Is this real? 7 minutes? Unbelievable." The height of professionalism. Technology and humanity working in perfect sync. That officer who calmed the child down? She's a hero. She knew exactly how to handle a scared kid. End quote. I want to visit Canada now. Any country that values a child's safety this much has to be a good place. The messages reflected my own feelings perfectly. The world was now seeing what I had experienced firsthand. When we reached our gate, a ground staff agent smiled at us warmly. She looked at Evan and handed him a small paper bag. "For our brave little traveler," she said in a charming Canadian accent. Inside were a few maple leaf-shaped candies and a small beaver keychain. It was a small gesture, but for us, it was the final touch that sealed our profound impression of this place. We thanked her again and again, our hearts full of gratitude. As the plane climbed into the sky, I looked down at the glittering lights of Toronto receding below. I knew this journey had changed my perspective forever. Canada was no longer just a layover. It was a place that had taught me an invaluable lesson. I had learned that the world's best systems are meaningless without the human heart that drives them. And here, in Canada, I had seen the perfect marriage of both. I made a promise to myself. We would come back here again, not as hurried travelers, but as friends, eager to learn more about the beauty of this country and its people. The 7-minute miracle at Pearson wasn't just about finding a lost boy. It was about discovering the great heart of a nation hidden in plain sight. And that heart had given my family a memory we would cherish forever.